the morning of June 8, 793, an unprecedented event occurred in the history of Europe. They killed the monks, and they stole the treasures. Who are these men? Viking mythology is full of tales of evil pirates who would attack and plunder without mercy. But who are these men really? What prompted them to launch an attack on a holy Christian monastery? What is the reason for the attack? Was it just an ordinary act of hacking? Or did he have a deeper purpose? Was it an attempt to intimidate Christian Europe? Or was it an attempt to take revenge for something? What will happen next? This event changed the whole of Europe. The answer to all this is after the intro. Continue watching the video to answer all these questions. Welcome to the first episode of our series about the Vikings. In this episode, we will delve into the beginning of the Viking Age, which is the era extending from the end of the 8th century AD until the 11th century AD in Northern Europe, especially in Scandinavia. Before we start, if you're new to JustFacts channel, we extend a warm welcome. Join our loving community by subscribing and activating the notification bell. Your support means the world to us. Let's continue. The beginning of the Viking Age. The beginning of the Viking Age can generally be identified in the year 793, when Vikings attacked Lindisfarne Abbey in England. Lindisfarne was an important monastery of the Anglo-Saxon Church and housed the relics of Saint Cuthbert, a saint famous throughout Europe. Historical context of the attack on Lindisfarne. The 8th century AD was a period of political and social change in Europe. The Carolingian Empire was weakening, leading to increasing instability in Western Europe. In 788, Charlemagne, the Carolingian emperor, died and was succeeded by his sons, who were not as powerful and efficient. These factors weakened the Carolingian Empire and made it more vulnerable to external invasions. The Vikings were also in a state of change. They had begun to develop new ship technologies, which enabled them to travel longer distances. Viking ships were long and lightweight, making them fast and flexible. It was also equipped with oars and sails, which made it capable of sailing in open waters. Details of the attack on Lindisfarne. The Vikings arrived at Lindisfarne on the morning of the 8th of June, 793. They were a small group of men, perhaps no more than 50 men. They landed on the island and attacked the monastery without warning. The Vikings killed many monks and threw them into the sea to drown. They captured others and took them with them as slaves. They also looted the monastery, taking with it treasures, manuscripts, and works of art. Europe shock. The attack on Lindisfarne caused great shock throughout Europe. It was not uncommon for pirates to attack a Christian monastery, especially one as important as Lindisfarne. Alcuin of York, a famous scholar of the time, wrote of the attack, "Such atrocities were never seen before." He saw the attack as a sign of the end of the world. The attack on Lindisfarne increased awareness of the Christian religion in Scandinavia. The Vikings realized that Christianity was a powerful force in Europe, and that they needed to understand it if they wanted to continue their conquests. The attack also led to a change in Scandinavian art, as artists began to depict scenes of battles and invasions. These images were a way for the Finks to express their culture and values. Europe's fear of an attack on Lindisfarne. The attack on Lindisfarne increased readiness to defend Europe against Viking invasions. European kingdoms began to build fortifications and organize armies. The attack also led to increased cooperation between European kings and princes. They realized that they needed to work together if they were to stop the Vikings. More details about Lindisfarne Abbey. Lindisfarne Abbey was founded in the 7th century AD by Saint Cuthbert. The abbey was an important center of Christian learning and dissemination in Anglo-Saxon Europe. Lindisfarne Abbey was a holy place for Christians throughout Europe. It housed the relics of Saint Cuthbert, a famous saint who was believed to have healing powers. The monastery was also an important center of Christian learning and publishing. It had a large library containing many precious manuscripts. More details about the Vikings, their origin and culture. The Vikings were a Germanic people who lived in modern-day Scandinavia, Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. Their culture was a mixture of Germanic and local elements. The Vikings were a maritime people. and were adept at building and using ships. Their ships were long and lightweight, making them fast and flexible. It was also equipped with oars and sails, making it capable of sailing in open waters. The Vikings were also a martial people and were adept at using bladed weapons. They were also adept at using spears and arrows. The Viking culture was a masculine culture, and men had a higher status than women. Women were responsible for the home and family, and their role in society was limited. Their military and naval techniques, Viking ships were one of the most important reasons for their success in their conquests. These ships were long and lightweight, making them fast and flexible. It was also equipped with oars and sails, making it capable of sailing in open waters. The Vikings were also adept at using bladed weapons. They used swords, arrows, and spears. They were also adept at using armor and helmets. More details about Europe's response to the attack. After the attack on Lindisfarne, European kings and princes began to take measures to protect against Viking invasions. European kingdoms began to build fortifications and organize armies. It also began to conclude agreements with the Vikings to pay them tribute. The attack on Lindisfarne led to major changes in Europe. It led to increased readiness to defend against Viking invasions. It also led to increased cooperation between European kings and princes. The attack also raised awareness of the Christian religion in Scandinavia. The Vikings realized that Christianity was a powerful force in Europe and that they needed to understand it if they wanted to continue their conquests. The attack on Lindisfarne was an important event in European history. It was the beginning of the Viking Age, which saw many invasions, explorations, and expansions into Europe and North America. The attack led to major changes in Europe and led to the emergence of a new power in Northern Europe, the Viking power. If you're new to JustFacts channel, we extend a warm welcome. Join our loving community by subscribing and activating the notification bell. Your support means the world to us.